What's up, boys?
What's up, guys?
Who day,
How
brothers?
y'all doing?
Good. We're back with episode 7 of season 2 of the Bengal Brothers podcast. How you guys feeling tonight?
Pretty good. Episode 7 just finished off week 7, so
Yeah, man.
We're
Feeling good, dude.
already going into week 8. Insane.
it flies by. It just truly you wait and you wait and you wait for the season to get here, and then once it gets here, man, it's over in a flash.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the season literally just started and we're basically at the halfway point. Or
For NBA and Major League Baseball, those fans that their season gets to go a lot longer than ours. A lot
But-
more games.
Unfortunately, man.
keeps it
Unfortunately.
interesting. Every game matters.
It does. You're correct.
Well, the Bengals coming off a big 21-14 win against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. The first time winning there since 2017.
Finally.
And
Finally.
yeah, this was a big game. Low key, even though the Browns are trash, it was a big game.
Yeah, but we found out real quick that they still got a defense up in Cleveland.
Yeah,
You know, something about them, the matchup game is definitely to their advantage. Yeah, we got 2 top-notch wide receivers, but they got several good corners, good safety play. They match up very well against us.
they do. I mean, honestly, you could argue the Browns are built to beat us. Like, not specifically, but I mean, their strengths are the Bengals' weaknesses and have been over the past 4 or 5 years.
Burrow's 1-5 against them. The
Well,
Browns, come
It
on.
I'm talking about right now.
It wasn't pretty, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty.
Yeah, so let's get into talking about the offense. First week 1, nobody played that well, right? And then the next 3 weeks after that, the offense played pretty unbelievable. I mean, really good ball. And since then, it's been the defense has played good ball, and the offense has fallen on its face quite a bit. So I say we start there. Get into the
Yeah.
offensive woes.
One of the biggest questions that's just screaming out at Bengals fans is who's going to step up for the number 3 wide receiver position, because there was a really telling stat that came out this week. Yoshi's one of the worst in NFL at getting separation. I mean, the numbers don't lie. I truly feel that I know Yoshi, they're starting to become a fan favorite, but at the same time, when you come across defenses like Cleveland, and Chase had a touchdown, Higgins had a touchdown, but at the same time, neither one eclipsed 80 yards. You need a number 3 wide receiver. I didn't get a chance to go back and look, but for the past 3 or 4 years, you had Tyler Boyd, who was good at getting separation. Was averaging 50, 60 catches a season, just under 1,000 yards, sometimes eclipsing that. And now, there's a huge void here. I know that they hoped Gesicki was going to come in, and, all you heard in the offseason was how much Yoshi's improved. But at the same time, I'm just not seeing it. I think it's truly time to really give Burton a shot. I mean, I think so. Not only does he offer a deep threat, that's going to make especially if you hit a few of them, the defenses are going to have to say, well, hey, we got Chase that we're going to have to bracket coverage on. We have T, and now you got this young guy with speed who plays with an attitude, which I think this offense could use at times, who is a deep threat. He's got
Bob
great
over on
hands.
Facebook said the offense has been too conservative.
They have been.
Well,
I think that's maybe their biggest issue right now, to be honest.
it is, but
I agree
that's
with you,
where not having a strong number 3 wide receiver can make us look conservative, because it's not there to chase because of the bracket. They are covering up T and doing what they can to contain them. We really need a number 3 to step up here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. And I think for the most part over the past few weeks, it's been Eric All. I mean, he has stepped up tremendously. I think over the season, I think he's got 16 receptions compared to Drew Sample's 4. So Eric All is quickly becoming that target for Joe
Yeah, but
because
defenses aren't
at the end
worried
of the
about
day,
Eric All.
understandably. But I mean, if you put what you're talking about, putting Jamar, T, Burton, and then you have Eric All into that mix, man. I mean, I kind of feel like those are probably our best 4 studs right now.
I mean, I agree with you guys, but I kind of I disagree in a way because I feel like the offense's issue has really been, in my opinion, two things. One is what Bob over on Facebook just commented, the offense being very conservative. I think there's been big chunks where they've either tried to beat the run game over the head or just didn't go play to win. They played not to lose offensively. And I think the second part is, I mean, honestly, some teams don't have one wide receiver. And, we're kind of sitting here nitpicking over having 3 receivers. When, I mean, Yoshi, I saw the numbers you were talking about, Bob, and I mean, you're dead on, right? But on the flip side of that coin, he's been pretty damn good in the red zone. And on plays that end up being scramble plays that have extended, he's made some of the biggest plays this season, both in the red zone and on
you bringing that up. Most of his catches that he's had have been on scramble plays,
right.
And that's the only time he's gotten separation is on a scramble play.
My point is, I think right now, I think the offense is playing too situationally. Like, I think Zach's a little bit like he's playing because the defense is playing better. For 3 or 4 weeks there, the offense was sort of just teeing off. The defense is playing so bad that, like, Burrow even was saying in press conference, I got to play damn near perfect. So they clearly had the mindset is we got to go be aggressive. And there was a few times late in games where they kind of got conservative. But the past 2 weeks, they've fully played that way, not just in those moments. The defense has been playing better. So it's like they've been in each other's ear, like, don't throw the game away. Don't lose the game when the defense is playing well.
At the end of the day, we're still yet to put a complete product on the field,
Right.
I mean,
from offense and defense.
No, I agree. I agree with you.
Towards the defense. I mean, we're still yet to produce that game,
Yeah.
Well, one way you got to look at it, though, too, has the offense gotten conservative, taken a step back, or have we just played 2 really good defenses the last 2 weeks?
I mean, a little bit of both, right?
Right.
And when we talk about the Eagles, the Eagles have played the past 2 weeks, they've had 2 wins. Who have the Eagles played the past 2 weeks? Cleveland and the Giants.
Right.
Yeah, these same 2 teams.
On the other side of what you just said, though, here we are talking about 3 wide receivers. But the problem is, and see other defensive coaches and coordinators know this, is we don't have much of a run game. So when you don't have a run game, then it is going to take your 3rd wide receiver, your tight ends, and your running backs to make some plays in the passing game because they are going to shut down our 2 top wide receivers. Because guess what? They're not loading the box every week to stop our running game.
Because at the end of the day, right now, nobody really respects our running game, and that's what it comes down to: is having a running game
and
respected.
After the first half we just put together against the Browns, with all these weapons and this offense, we managed to get 85 yards in the first half. I understand that's a good defense, but that shit's got to stop.
We're already kind of starting out this week on difference of opinion because I sort of disagree again with both of you a little bit. Like, I think this is the most efficient the run game's been under Zach this year. Minus week 1 and minus Sunday against Cleveland. The run game has been.
I think it's picking it up.
Has been pretty efficient. But I think I like the multiple looks. I like the 2 tight end sets. I like all the versatility. Like, a pistol diamond look that they're running where Burrow's in the pistol with the back to his left, right, and behind him. And, like they're putting some looks on tape that they've never put on tape before. But I just think that I agree sort of with what Ray just said right there was the difference in them and some of these other teams that are running less efficient than they are is they respect their run game. They don't respect ours, like you just said.
Right. And I think a big part of the right. And I think a big part of the problem is I've already told you this, is, I mean, just now that, Chase Brown's getting 2 carries for every 1 carry that Moss is getting. But what has kind of upset me a little bit is if you want to make some teams scared of your running game, Chase Brown's going to be the back that's going to do that. What I have not liked, especially against Cleveland, and really the week before against the Giants, is just as Chase Brown will start to get going the next series, something will happen the next series, and then it's let's give Moss the series. And that aggravates me because Chase Brown, you could tell he's one of them backs where he's, kind of like Joe Mixon in that the more carries he gets, the more he gets going, the better his, ability looks, and, he starts to break them off. Like, I just think they need to focus on, okay, Chase Brown, you're our first and second down back no matter what the fucking series is. Moss, you're going to be our third down back. And stop switching the whole series thing in and out. That's frustrating me. Because I think Chase Brown has the ability to really break some shit off for this team if he's getting the consistent carries. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he's dangerous every time he touches the ball. Go ahead, Ray.
No, I was just saying, man, if he's eating, you got to let the dog eat.
right.
The more reps, the better he's going to be. I think he's just pushing 350, I think, in rushing yards so far this season. And again, like you said, he's a shared back. He's not getting all the carries like these other running backs are, Which, we're sitting here talking about the Bengals' offensive woes, but, at the end of the day, I think Jamar Chase after this game I think he's like 6 in receptions, but I think he's leading the NFL now in wide receiver yards.
Yeah, he is. He is.
We ain't doing that.
Well,
I think
some of those woes, some of those woes, though, are this offense disappearing at times during games.
It comes back to the offensive line. Again, I think Burrow's been sacked 18 times now in the season.
I'm actually not going to put it on the line. I'm actually going to put a big part of those woes on Joe Burrow. Because we saw it again this game in the first half. He was under pressure. He rolled out. And I know we all love that he keeps his eyes downfield, but sometimes you got to take, in his own words, he says, I'll take what they give me. It would have extended the drive, and you never know what could have happened on that drive, obviously. But he forced one over top to Yoshi, who didn't have no separation, and you had Gesicki wide open in the flat that would have moved the chains, and Burrow missed it. Once again, on another play, Jamar Chase had bracket coverage, double coverage on him, and that's when Joe threw to Eric All, who had tight coverage on him. I understand, it's all, apples and oranges, whatever, but Jamar Chase had broke a nice curl route off against bracket coverage and was open for the first down, and Burrow didn't see him. So Burrow has to, which obviously he probably does in the locker room, but, a big part of this offense disappearing at times is, third down play has not been good for this team.
No, it's a horrible stat.
Even in the games that we put up points, they go missing, and you got to get better on third downs.
I 100% agree. I think that, and I agree with you, Ray, like, woes really isn't the best word. Like, they've just, like, I phrase it, they stall out for periods of time, right? And really, it's just been 3 of the 7 games they've played this year, because in those other 4 games, they've offensively, scored on a majority of their possessions. There for a stretch, they had the highest efficiency of points per play.
Right.
But no, I agree though. Like, I think Joe has sort of uncharacteristically struggled in a couple of situations. Like, this week, again, there was a few times where he would check into a run or check into a pass in a situation that was, again, you don't know the play that's called. You don't know exactly what he's feeling in the moment. Like, like Joe Burrow is a million times on his worst day a better quarterback than I'll ever be and have more knowledge. So it's easy to set me an armchair quarterback and question it. But there's been times where, like, in hindsight, you're like, damn, that was a bad time to check into a run by Joe. Or that was like you said, a missed read, which typically Joe does not have. But to the flip side of that coin, the past 2 weeks, really in 3 of the past 4 weeks, Joe and the offense have made the plays they needed to win the game. Yes, they didn't have
Yeah.
a big offensive explosion this week, but there for a stretch, and then coming out of the half after the stop, they scored on 2 or 3 straight drives to take over the game. Then they went into ultimate conservative mode right at the end of the game, which we've already talked about. But like they've have made the plays to win that they've needed. This team was 0-3, and all of a sudden you've won back-to-back road games, 3 of the past 4 games. And they've been ugly wins. But would you rather lose pretty or win ugly?
Win
You
ugly any day.
What Ray said at the beginning, until they can put together a complete game. Joe on Facebook, too many obvious run plays. That's
Yeah.
something I've noticed
Yeah, I agree.
they've been a high percentage. They pass on early downs at as high of a rate as any team in the NFL. You can look that up.
Yeah, and teams realize that, you know,
the past few weeks, they've been obviously running on first down, like 3, 4, 5 drives when they're stalled out.
I mean, a good point to
run
that
the
is
ball
when
on first
Cleveland
down.
lost that 4th and 2 and was turnover on downs. The very 1st and 10, Chase Brown gashes them, I think, for 18, 20 yards. And that opened up that drive. I think they ended with the T. Higgins touchdown.
Yeah.
You know something I've noticed, you know, especially after watching the Ravens last night and, you know, some other games that I caught this weekend and just throughout this year so far. It seems like things got to be so hard for the Bengals when it comes to some shit. You know, you see these other teams when they're scoring and they're driving down the field. I mean, it looks like some of the shit comes so easy to them. And I feel like in the Bengals case, man, they are like fighting, you know, tooth and nail to get a first down even sometimes. It seems so hard for them. And I don't quite understand it.
Is very not boomer bust, because I don't think they're rarely ever a bust. They have a couple times. But like it's like either they're noticeably struggling all game or they're just torching teams. Like since 21, there's been stretches of both where it's just like the offense is how they played against the Ravens. They're going to score every time they touch the ball against a great defense. And then you have a game against the Giants whose defense is mid, and they literally, can't produce first downs, you know?
I know, and what sucks too, you think about it, we're 2 plays away. The pass interference against the Chiefs and the bad hold in the Ravens game, or we'd be sitting here with 5 wins, and maybe the discussion would be different, maybe it wouldn't be. You know,
this team could easily have.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we just show it more than other teams. You know, I mean, every team is chasing not so much perfection, but chasing consistency. You know, and we just show it more than other teams, man. I mean, we're so inconsistent on everything we do, just about. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
I agree with you, Joseph. Sometimes it's like, you know, why can't we have both? Why can't the coaching be on? Why can't the players be executing at a high level in the defense? You know, keeping us in games. You know, hopefully this team will figure that out by the end of the year and be able to put it all together. Well, they're gonna have to, because fucking Pittsburgh just keeps winning. Yeah. You know, of course they're about to get to the meat of their schedule, and I think things are going to change for them. But at the same time, you know,
Ray, why don't you kick us off into some defense talk?
Yeah, I mean, another week, boys. I mean, it's nice to have the best defensive end in the league. You know, I mean, Trey just eats, man. I mean, God, dude, if we only had 2 or 3 more of that guy, I mean, he is an absolute mule. I think that puts him at 7, I think, on the season.
I'm not sure.
I'll have to look
that He's
up.
Definitely the most underrated defensive player in football. I think
by far
6 or 7.
That's why I want this team to make a move before the trade deadline, which is 2 weeks from tonight. You know, come on, make a move and get a pass rusher opposite of him.
Yeah. I mean, Sam played a hell of a game, though.
He did. You're right, and he got one of his rare sacks. But at the same time, you know, if you could get someone who's a little more elite at pass rushing on that opposite end of Trey, I mean, it would boast well for it.
Really, honestly, since B.J. Hill and Sheldon Rankins have gotten healthy, this has has
night
become
and day
over
difference.
the past 3 weeks. Even going back to the last loss, which to the Ravens, they really played the run well against the Ravens. I mean, the big run by Derrick Henry in overtime for 50 yards, put him to like 90, but he was at like 40 yards rushing before that. And
Once
then
again,
BJ and Sheldon have came back. Like the
yeah,
front four, they've been playing really well the past 3 weeks, and they've gotten better every single game. Like, I think the pressure needs it, but BJ and Sheldon have been creating interior pressure that the Bengals haven't seen in a while. You know,
yeah, I get it. Sheldon got his first sack this week, and hopefully he continues to play more like he did when he was with the Texans, against us. But I'm not too worried. As long as those two guys can stay healthy, I'm not too worried about the interior of this line because it's been a difference of night and day since they came back, obviously. But I'm still going to pound the table to get another edge rusher, to rotate in and out with Sam Hubbard because I think that would do well. Miles Murphy, it's still like you'll see him out there. He'll make a few flashy plays, but like
yeah.
Which there's been a lot of talk about. Well, I'm probably going to butcher his name. That Aguilera, or the Giants D end. I can't think of his name, but they more or less, because they have Burns and Lawrence, they may be willing to trade him. I don't know.
Joe
I
said,
just
"What's more of a concern, DBs or safety play?" Ray, what do you think?
I'm gonna lean more towards the safeties, man. I mean,
DBs.
I was obviously talking shit about Gino in our last podcast last week, and he turns around and gets a pick this week and actually made a play. But I'm still not bought and sold, bro. I mean, that ball was thrown right to him.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically hit him in his numbers. I mean, I don't know, man. Safeties, I think, has been my bigger concern all season.
I'm going to say corners. And I hope we don't get exposed with these corners this week going up against, a couple really good wide receivers.
Honestly, since Cam Taylor's played better again, just like the D line, the past 3 weeks, Cam's played better every week. Because the first 4 weeks he was getting torched. They were going after him.
They were.
And
They were
he's played
targeting
better
a
every
lot.
week.
But
I would say safety only because of the Geno Stone injury. Because Jordan
he's playing this week,
I
though.
think should have been getting more reps. Most of us do. But now he's starting. So you got guys coming in like Tyson Anderson. I believe Tyson Anderson is going to be like the third, the rotation safety now. So and he's been a hell of a special teams player, but I mean he's not really moved the depth chart in safety. So we're going to see some of him too.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Geno's fine though. Like there's a chance he's going to play Sunday even.
Yeah, but my point is he's not been great this year. So with him being banged up, I'm not expecting him to be a world beater.
Yeah, he kind of came.
My concern is they're going to. Right, I just don't want the corners to get exposed this week because let's be honest, the Giants had no Malik Neighbors, the Browns had no Amari Cooper, and now we got to deal with a decent tight end and two very good wide receivers. So this is going to be a test for these corners.
I mean, I mean, sure, bro. I mean, I don't disagree with you.
Do you want to get into the Eagles
or stat sheet? When you look at the stat sheet, it's a different story, dude. Like, I mean, let's be honest, bro. Philly's not playing like Philly had where everybody thought Philly was going to be at by now, this point in the season. You got to go pretty far down that list that Jamar's sitting at 1 on to find A.J. Brown, to find Goddard or Smith. I mean, at the end of the day, they're pretty far down there. Matter of fact, Jalen Hurts ain't even in the top 20. So, again, I mean, it's been a Saquon Barkley show since they got that dude. And if we can shut him down,
he's a leading rusher in the league
we will
right
shut
now.
down the Eagles. It's that
second leading rusher.
Can shut down Saquon Barkley. We will shut down the Eagles.
Right. But what worked for them last week and the week before, they're starting to pick it up, is Saquon is a force to be reckoned with. But guess what's opening up for them? Play action pass. They're getting some man-to-man situations. And,
I mean, we'll see, bro.
If the Eagles can get rolling, the Eagles are a very good team in this league.
Well,
I think
here's the
this is
thing.
a bigger game than a lot of people
Yeah,
think it
they're one
is.
of the best in the
Well,
NFC,
yeah.
man. You know.
Well, the Eagles are 4-2 right now, and they started out slow, just like us, and they ramped up. They have 2 straight wins, and their 2 straight wins are against the same 2 teams we just beat.
Yep.
Right? And they're a couple of plays away from having 5 wins, just like us, but they have 4 wins right now. But they literally have ran the ball, and I just saw something about this every week the past 3 weeks at a higher volume, even though Saquon's been running well, to take less pressure off Jalen, and they've slowly grinded and got their groove back, and they're you know have weapons, and like you both said and brought up points on both sides of hey, they're not that statistically great right now, but there's still some studs. Like, I look at this game
Yeah, I'm
as
not
the
trying to
Bengals are
discredit them.
playing sort of a mirror matchup, but we just have a much more potent passing attack. They're running the ball and controlling the clock. We've been trying to do the same, but we've just been doing the pass game to do it at a higher volume.
Well, some fun facts here. The Bengals are 9-3-2 against the Eagles, which is actually a pretty decent record. But 2 of the last 4 games have ended in a tie.
Yeah, the last time we played them, I believe, was a
Yeah.
tie. It
Just
won't. It
Wonder if
won't
that
be a
was
tie
thought.
this Sunday, boys.
no. I think the
Just
Bengals have had a tie
thought.
since then, like Green Bay.
We had the tie over in London.
Oh yeah, you're right. Against
The Rams.
it was the Rams.
I think it was the Rams.
I'm not sure about that.
I don't know. I'm probably wrong, but
I think this game
take a fucking wild
they
guess.
feel less like it, in my opinion, than the Bengals do or should. Right now, the Bengals, every game is like a playoff game for them, and they're
It
not
has been.
and they're not out of the woods yet. So I mean, this is a big game to Cincinnati. You haven't won at home yet. Literally, the Bengals have not won in Cincinnati this season, and you just won back-to-back road games. This is a big game that can sort of feel like a letdown game because you're building steam. So to me, this is as big of a win as the win in Cleveland was, getting your first home win. This is the Bengals have been a team, when they have success, they have to check a lot of boxes, weird boxes. It started 3 years ago when they got their first playoff win in 31 years against the Raiders in Cincinnati. When GP had a game-winning pick. I've relived the moment many times in our head. But since then, look how much our expectations have grown. And guess what? Along the way, they've checked boxes. And they've checked the box of starting 0-2 and 1-3 and making pushes. And they're putting themselves in position to do that now. But like we've talked about, at some point you have to rattle off a real good chunk of wins.
Because you started slow.
So right now they're starting to build into that. Well, you got to keep it going. And a big box you can check is, hey, we have not won in Cincinnati yet this year. And the Eagles are sort of feeling the same way, so we need to bust that bubble.
Yeah, I mean, those are the 2 biggest boxes to check, man.
Right.
Is that win at home and getting back to 500.
Well, I look at it like this: it's a whiteout game. Yeah, we were flexed to 1 o'clock. Yeah, we do have to tackle. We were flexed to 1 o'clock, but it is a whiteout game. I'm hoping the fans that do go to the game are as loud and obnoxious and as drunk as they can get. I'm hoping that when we watch the broadcast on TV, or if you're there, it's like a college experience. And I hope that the Bengals offense taps into that and the excitement and everything going on, and really just, light the scoreboard up. Because I feel like we're going to have to light it up this week to win. We will not win with just 20 points in this game. I mean, I won't say we won't. There's always a chance. But I feel like this is a game where, all right, the defense has saved our ass a little bit the past couple of weeks. The offense has to get back to putting up some serious points, because you better believe that the Eagles are going to be able to score.
Well, let's take us into our predictions, Bob.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be what we just went through in the Giants and the Browns. The Eagles will score on us. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind.
Well, let's hear that score.
Let's hear that score.
Let's hear your prediction.
My score is going to be 34-24. I feel like we're going to have to get to 30 to win this game. We are going to have to. I don't think we'll be able to completely stop Saquon, but I think we can do a pretty good job against him. If he wants to do some running in between the 20s, that's fine. Don't let them pound him down our fucking throats, on 15, 16 play drives, because then we're going to get into some scary situational football with this team.
Yeah.
I feel like they do need to establish the running game in this game, and it needs to be with Chase Brown, not Moss. I like Moss on third downs. He is a good pass protector. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think you got to get Chase Brown rolling to open up the play action and get the ball to, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. And I really want to see Jermaine Burton get some serious snaps in this game, even if that means Yoshi's not getting as many snaps. Because you need a third wide receiver to get separation. Trenton Irwin couldn't do it. Yoshi's not doing it. Why not give Burton a chance? He plays with an attitude. And I think sometimes that's, like I said earlier, this offense, I feel like should play with more of an attitude. They really should.
I agree.
So, yeah, I'm going to say 34-24. And, it looks like a college stadium and atmosphere with the white out. And,
right, let's
rip off the points.
Yeah, dude, I'm right there with him, man. I think this could be the game we establish our running game and we make teams start to respect it a little more, especially if we can get Chase running downhill. And like Bobby said, I feel like Zach's, Moss is best used in the perimeter, catching screens. I think it's going to be a tight one, man. I got a 27-24 final. I think this is the week that Evan McPherson, puts those haters in their place and makes a walk-off game-winning field goal to end the game. That's
Damn.
That's gonna be
that is if they'll let him. That is if they'll let him last week. Why not let him kick the 55-yarder against Cleveland? And he
proved it later in the game when he missed the 50-yarder.
Yeah, but what sucks is the past few seasons, that's been the one thing.
Come on, bro.
That's been the one thing that we can count on is we got a guy who's Justin Tucker-esque who can bang some fucking long field goals.
Honestly, I don't think Evan really has an issue. I think there was a bad hold in the Ravens game, and he pulled one left this past game.
Right. So why not give him the 55-yarder last week instead of 5?
I think it's more so Zach hearing some of the criticism in the back saying we need to be more aggressive on those 4th and shorts. So instead of going for a field goal or punting it, but then there's a time this past week where we punted it when I thought we should have went for it or kicked a field goal and we chose to punt it. But again, that goes back to what we were talking about during the offense. They're playing not to lose. They're like, don't throw the game. And I don't agree with that, but that's clearly what they were doing.
And what did we do in the Super Bowl run? Remember what would happen at the end of games? And this year on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, where we're hitting a draw, we're doing something stupid.
That's a very good point that I've felt the past few weeks, that after the bad hold, they realized, like, man, we don't want to put big moments in this kid's hands.
Then get Jake Browning's ass out there to hold it if you're not worried about it.
Yeah.
But, the Super Bowl run, we were throwing at the end of games, on 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 9, whatever the case was. And this year, we haven't seen that. Instead, they'll go conservative. They'll hand the ball off on the draw, see what you get. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I believe the ball should be in his hand at the end of the game.
I agree. And Ray, were you done with your predictions?
Yeah, that's all I got, bro. That's where I'm at. I think it's going to be a great game. If both teams get their shit together, man, it could be a prelude to the Super Bowl, matchup.
Wow.
Both teams are that good and have that good of rosters,
Yeah. Honestly, like I think I look at this game, and I think this is probably going to be the first game that the offense and defense play well. And I we've yet to see that. And I think one of the big differences in the defense has been they played more aggressive the past 3 weeks. They've been blitzing more. They've been showing a 5 front, but one of the edges is dropping off into coverage, so they're still playing a 4-3. And offensively, when they've been playing well, they were playing aggressive, which we beat the nail over the head this episode about it. So I think if the offense comes out and actually plays aggressive and gets into a rhythm, and the defense can come out, be aggressive, and bring pressure because they struggle against mobile quarterbacks, and Jalen can move. So you got to stop Saquon Barkley to make Jalen beat you, and then you got to keep him in the pocket. If the Bengals can do that, they'll keep them to high teens, low 20s in scoring. And if the offense can get back to its tick, I see this game being a 34-21, 34-27, 34-24, like somewhere in there where they'll score a couple times, get a couple field goals, but the Bengals go on a stretch where they score on 4 or 5 straight drives.
Some unanswered points, right? That's like 34-24.
Which one is it, bro?
I'm gonna say 34-24 Bengals.
So you're gonna say the same as Bingo Bob here?
Yeah.
All right.
But I think here's what I think.
And we all three agree on 24 points for Philly.
I don't think it's going to be their best running game of the year because I think they're going to go back to how they were for a 3 or 4 game stretch where the running game is efficient, where they're running those draws with Chase Brown for 10 yards a pop. They run the ball 12, 15 times this game, and hopefully it's going to be more Chase carries than Moss. But I think they're going to get back to running efficiently in the run game. And taking
which is with this offense is throwing to run the ball, not running to throw the ball. Which you want them to start that way, obviously, right? But
the Eagles are going to run the ball to throw the ball, play action. That's what the Browns have proven since 2017 in Cleveland of how to beat the Bengals. Is you literally run the ball and play action and you beat us. The Ravens, that's how they win. That's how they literally are built.
BJ Hill's got to have a huge game,
And we've struggled with
to have a huge game.
I know, man.
Well, any best bet? My bet is take the over in this game. If you're on FanDuel this week, take the over in points. I think this is a trap game, and like if people are going to bet on the score, the over under, like I think a lot of people are like, oh, the Eagles are going to run the ball, and the Bengals have been trying to run the ball. This is going to be a lower scoring game. I don't think it's going to be.
I don't think so either.
I think that the Bengals are going to shut down the run, and Jalen's going to have to make some plays in the pass game, and they've slowly built some momentum.
This game could look a lot like the Baltimore game from a few weeks ago. It could look a lot like that game.
They look at the Ravens' game plan and how the Ravens play and how the Browns beat us. They're just so trash right now that and
there's good tape from the Washington game.
Right.
My best bet would be Joe over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Toxic talk. What have you guys seen anything toxic this week? Anybody watching?
I'm going to be toxic. I'm going to be toxic here.
Let's hear it, dude. I'm here for it. I wish I had some popcorn.
This shit pisses me off so much because the Bengals have been on the wrong side of it. And I've seen several other teams be on the wrong side of it. This past week, near the end of the game, to seal a victory for the Chiefs over the Niners, Mahomes is rolling out. He's running. He gets past the line of scrimmage, and he acts like he's about to go out of balance. You have 3 49er defenders right there. And, I don't care what asshole Chiefs fans say. He slowed down like he was going to step out, so they didn't hit him. And what did he do? He continued to run.
He baited
which
him.
basically see it. Now, there's a rule in college football. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. They've also created the fake slide no more, too.
So, the thing about that.
But that pissed me off. Yeah, only the Chiefs and Kermit would get away with that.
So I agree with you, man. But at the end of the day, all that did was just piss everybody else off, just like you. So best believe the next time he tries to pull that, they're going to take that flag because you are taught to run to the ball. You run to
Why
the
doesn't
ball,
that
then you
suck?
run through the
Yeah,
ball.
but
And now Patty Little McFrog doing that shit. I guarantee you, bro, the next time he tries pulling that, a corner, a safety, a linebacker, they're gonna lay him the fuck out and they're gonna
and then there
hold
goes the
and take the
flag.
flag.
I hope
They'll
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there
probably
goes
take
the
the flag.
flag.
I
Oh
mean, nail
well.
him, dude.
Yeah.
You
Nail
know
him.
what's awesome? You know what's awesome though is he's got more interceptions than touchdowns. You know,
Mm-hmm.
somehow they're still pulling out these wins,
Yeah.
but
He's got
you
very
know,
good
and
personal.
I've heard a lot of people still saying, well, you still have to keep Mahomes there for MVP. That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Hate to say
If
it, but
I
Lamar
had to
did.
bet right now, Lamar Jackson would be MVP if the
Yep.
season ended tomorrow. You know, for people to put Mahomes near the top of that list when he's statistically having a horrible year, their defense is what's kept them in games. Yeah, they find a way to come up with the play or to, you know, get a no call from the refs or get a call from the refs in their favor. But man, the shit just pisses me off.
Ray, what you got anything toxic from this week?
No,
Joe
bro.
said it's a popularity
No.
contest.
Absolutely it is. It's been a
Good.
joke for years.
It's a quarterback contest. I mean, we may never see if Derrick Henry didn't win it last 2 years ago, whenever he had that ridiculous season, or Tyreek Hill in the past 3 years with a 2,000-yard season, if he couldn't win MVP, or you know what I mean, then what do you got to do to win it?
Yeah, fucking Derrick Henry's on pace for over 2,000 rushing yards, man.
This
Come
week's
on.
Cincy's finest five. Another
Bum,
edition.
bum, bum.
Cornerbacks. Next week we're doing defensive ends and edge players. That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
But this week it's cornerbacks. And as usual, the disclaimer here for the people watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch in the coming days is a VOD, or you're going back and watching the entire Bengal Brothers catalog. Yeah, we're live every Tuesday at 8:30 during the whole season and the playoffs. I said playoffs. And yeah, every week we have several segments. One of them is Cincy's Finest Five. The disclaimer is this is not just statistics. This is not just opinion or fan. It's a combination of everything. It's you as a Bengals fan who your finest five are in Cincinnati history at that specific position or coaching position. This week is cornerbacks. Last week we did what? Receivers. So go back and check that out. Next week we're doing defensive ends, edge players. Who wants to go first?
Don't everybody raise their hand at once.
Oh, no.
Jesus.
You want to go first, Bobby? I'll go first.
Yeah, put me up there, Ty.
Bob's CF5 RBs. Take us through it, Bob.
Well, the list speaks for itself. You have to put Ken Riley number one. He's one of the best corners of all time, Hall of Famer. You know, the Michigan Brat Leon Hall was one of our most stable corners we've ever put on the stripes. You know, he wasn't so much for interceptions, but a lot of batted balls. For the big part of his time in Cincinnati, I feel like he was a shutdown corner. Adam Jones, you know, people can dislike him for what he's done off the field, but on the field, Adam was not only a good locker room guy, but you know, he, one of the best returnmen the Cincinnati's ever had. You know, Bullops, Delpha O'Neal. You know, you could have threw in there Torrey James. You know, those are all guys that I enjoyed watching through my years of watching Bengals ball. So
Yeah.
there it is.
Ray, you want to go? You want me to go?
Sure, bro. I don't care. Throw it up there, dog. Throw it up there.
All right, there it is. Ray's CF5 CBs. I had to adjust. Yours still said RBs, Bobby. I don't know why.
So, I mean, you know, kind of like you said, man, it's kind of favorites, you know. I mean, I like Jonathan Joseph a lot, man. That's why I kind of snuck him in there at 5. I mean, I could have went Delta O'Neal, Dre Kirkpatrick. I mean, we've had quite a few good corners.
Don't say Dre, dude.
I just said Dre, bro.
Don't
Pac-Man
say Dre
Jones, obviously.
Kirkpatrick.
Joe said Joseph and Hall, one of the best duos.
They were.
They
The
were
Bengals
great,
couldn't
man.
keep them.
Are good,
Obviously,
right?
Pac-Man there for, Leon Hall, man, absolutely is a top three. I don't care where you put him at. I saw Bingo Bob had him at two. Obviously, I bumped Ken Riley, man. I know, that I don't care what Bengal fan you ask or who you poll, it's going to be Ken Riley at one. I put Lamar Parrish there, man. I mean, when you look up Cincinnati Bengals Pro Bowlers all time, he's on that list. You know what I mean? I mean, he was a great corner and kind of didn't get the credit I think he still deserves today, man. So Lamar
Well, he didn't
Parrish,
have the
number one, bro.
interceptions, but yeah.
Yeah. I like the list though. Yeah. I like both your lists. All right. Well, here's my CF5. And I'll start with the top two. I think Ken Riley is one of only two Bengals that are in the Hall of Fame. And he has literally is competitive with the most interceptions in the history of the NFL. And there's a lot of other accolades that Ken Riley had. I'm not going to go through all those, but I'll say this about Ken Riley. Ken Riley was a college quarterback and transitioned to corner in the NFL and ended up making the Hall of Fame with 60 plus interceptions. So I think that's
65.
yeah. Lamar Parrish, if Lamar, if Ken Riley wasn't on this list, Lamar would be the best Bengals corner, probably by a lot, in my opinion. I think Leon Hall is sort of in a tier of his own. And I think Delta and Breeden are two of the best all around defensive backs the Bengals ever had. And I think that, you take offensive tackle off the board, right? And you take running back off the board. And there's no other clear cut one than Ken Riley, more so at any other position, right? I mean, literally, you take,
Right.
Anthony Munoz and at left tackle and Willie Anderson at right tackle, and you take Corey Dillon off the board, and there's not a position where there's a clear cut one like there is at corner, and I think it's Ken. So, but Lamar Parrish was, had as many accolades as you can get at cornerback.
Right. He just didn't have the picks, but he had the Pro Bowls.
Joe said Eli Apple.
That's like saying Dre Kirkpatrick, right?
No, Dax Hill. I told Ray Dax Hill earlier today when I talked to him. I think he's having some technical difficulties. I think an alien spawned behind him again this week.
There he is.
There he is. You're
Yeah,
muted.
My bad, boys. Yeah, I know. I
There
was
he
muted. Yeah, technical issues is about right, bro. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, man, an honorable mention I would like to throw out there would be like Ultra Hawkins, man. I enjoyed watching him.
Yeah.
Another great Bengals corner,
Yeah, I think my honorable mention, because I didn't have him on a list, would have been Jonathan Joseph. I think.
Mine be Tory James.
Yeah, Bobby, you were actually froze for a second.
I'm just not moving.
Back in my throat. I'm just not moving. All right. Anything else you guys wanted to go back and touch on, or any final thoughts before we start wrapping this up?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big win. Let's get this win. Let's get to 500. We can check some boxes. We can get to 500. We can get our first home win, and then, get ready to hopefully take care of business against the Raiders. These two games, we need these games badly. We need to be 5-4 going into Baltimore on Thursday night. There's no way around it because that game, it's obviously it could go either way. But at least if we do go into Baltimore and take a loss, then we're still at 500. And no way, shape, or form do you want that Baltimore game to be a must win. Because we started slow, you know what I mean? Like now you're going to have to take care of business this week. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, again, like we were talking weeks ago, The goal is to get to 500. I kind of feel like if we couldn't get to 500 before our next loss, our season was probably over. To be consistent with the last couple of years, I mean, we're that's the only thing which is sad that we've been consistent about is starting the seasons the way we start the seasons, and then fighting to get to 500, and then putting on a 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 game winning streak. You know what I mean? Like we've done, and I kind of feel like that's kind of where we're at. We're facing one of the biggest opponents in the NFC with the Philadelphia Eagles, and if we can make this a 500 game and get back to 500, I definitely feel like we can rattle off the next 3, 4, 5 wins in a row.
And this is a bit of a revenge game for Burrow, from the cheap shot that he took from the Eagles his rookie year.
Yeah.
So
honestly, I look at it from like a sort of a bigger picture, which from an internal perspective, the Bengals never want to do. You never want to be looking ahead. But like as a fan, as we analyze things, I look at this from a step back with how well the past few weeks have went, right? At least defensively, and the offense has made the plays they've needed. Really, in the perfect world, obviously they're going to win this week, win next week before going into Baltimore. But if they can stay at sort of a 2-1, really 3-1 win-to-loss ratio in chunks, because that's how the season goes. You got to take it in chunks. Hey, we're on the road for 2 weeks, and we're home for 2 weeks. Right now they're facing, 3 games and then the bye. So they're breaking this down into another little chunk. They're like, hey, we got back-to-back home games, because they just finished a 2-game road set. And now you're like, hey, we're going back home for 2 weeks, and then we go play Baltimore in primetime. So you look at this next little chunk before the bye, you have to win one of the next 2, right? Because if you look at the picture and you say, if you win one of the next 2, you're sitting at 3-4 right now. That puts you in 4-5 going into the Ravens on primetime football in Baltimore. If you lose that game, which would be worst case scenario, you're at 4-6. The year still ain't over. The season is still not over at 4-6. You come back out of the bye, you have a very, very winnable stretch. So let's say now the Bengals win this week, and you drop you win next week, and then you drop to the Ravens in primetime in Baltimore, right? You're 5-4 going into that game. You're at 500 at the bye, coming out with a very winnable stretch. So just the hole that they've climbed themselves out of after starting 0-3 has done wonders for them in hindsight. Because now you look at it from a football perspective, like really some of the do or die pressure, even though I know they still feel that way and we still feel that way, has sort of come off. They've sort of, they're chunking at it, winning 3 of the last 4. Like I said, if you win these next 2 games, the Baltimore game, like you said, is not a must win. But if you want to win the division, it's a must win. And with them just getting their first AFC win and their first AFC North win, and then now you play the Eagles, who are an NFC team, and the Raiders, who are an AFC team, but not a team that's contending for anything. So even if you win the next 2 games, they're really not accomplishing anything in the AFC or the division. And they'll have won 5.
Well, the Raiders will help our conference record.
I mean, it will, but not in terms of anything we would be matching up with them. You know what I mean?
Right. Just overall conference record in case it gets muddy, going into the playoffs seeding.
This is a big game from the perspective of they need wins, and it's the next game. And that's the same thing with the Raiders, but from the outside perspective, it's really the game that's sort of do or die coming up is that Ravens primetime game. So they need to the next 2 weeks, not regardless of the outcome, but the next 2 weeks, if you're not going to have the offense and defense play well on the same day, you have to do everything you can so that you're playing your best game against Baltimore in Baltimore on in a prime time, whole national media game,
Right.
So I mean,
well, this is a huge stretch because we're about to play. We're about to play 3 games in 11 days. So,
Denzel on Facebook said, "I'd like to see the Bengals in the Super Bowl." Yes, sir.
You ain't kidding,
Joe
brother.
Burrow's whole window, his whole career.
You know, the Super Bowl, this team's kind of always not always been that way, but I remember even in the Super Bowl we had 6 possessions that didn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd food for thought there. You know, this team's got to stop that. They got to stop disappearing.
Just some
You can't
random
disappear this week.
for thought there.
I'm just saying, you know, they even disappeared in the Super Bowl. So, like, this team has to stop disappearing in games offensively.
Yeah, I agree, man. It goes
Got
back
to
to
put your fucking foot on that team's throat.
being consistent in what you do, you know.
Well, statistically, they've gotten themselves back to where on offense and defense, they're on the plus or minus side of, you know, an average defense and offense. There's some statistical categories offensively they're pretty good in. Defensively,
Yeah.
they've dug themselves out of statistical.
I think we're 10th in offense and 23rd in defense.
So,
We need the defense to get up to around 16, 15, right in the middle of the pack.
Right, but my point is, the past few weeks they've played so much better that they were dead last in most categories.
Right? Yeah, they've improved.
The fact that they're
things are
no
looking
longer, they're right now they look mid against the run instead of historically bad against the run. So staying the course, if they can just keep grinding and getting better, you know, that's how this team goes on a 10-game win streak like they did the Super Bowl year.
Right.
I mean, that's 10-game win streak. That doesn't happen very often, and you know, especially not in Bengals history.
Yeah.
So,
or NFL history for that matter.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? I know that's kind of what we're just doing, but
yeah.
No, man. Just when you just kick those birds' ass, boys. You know, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, got to go get a win at home.
Boxes.
First win.
Let's take care of business.
Check those boxes.
And anybody who goes to that game be as absolute wild as you can be.
Yeah, and we've
playoff atmosphere because this is a playoff game.
You know, we want to try to do a live show from a tailgate, so that's something that we're going to be putting some info out on. Try to get as many Bengal Brother podcast fans and friends and family down and do a tailgate, go live down there, and yeah, for a home game coming soon. We're working out the details.
All right, guys.
Eagles by 20.
Eagles by 20. Come on.
So, Bengals fans, if you see a dad and his son dressed in some Eagles jerseys, that would be this guy right here, man. Like, try not to go too hard on them after we kick their ass, you know?
Eagles by 20. Come on, dude.
Because best believe that's what's going to happen.
I already blocked him, so no, I'm just kidding. We're not that kind of podcast. All right, boys. Well, if you're watching this in the days to come on YouTube,
thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate your support.
Every Tuesday night at 8:30. I think right now across 3 platforms we're sitting at about 36 people. So everybody have a good night and Who Day.
We appreciate all of you. Who Day. Let's go get a win.
Absolutely, boys. Who Day.
All right. Night, guys.